Well, good afternoon. Today we're in Psalm 140, and David is praying for God to deliver him from violent men. Uh, Sometimes in life we just have to deal with difficult people. There are people that are trying to ruin your life, ruin your reputation, make your life miserable. Uh, if you're not one of them, you're very fortunate. But sometimes in life, you're going to have to deal with some difficult people who are against you, who slander you, who mistreat you, and cause you all kind of misery. And that's what David's talking about in this psalm. We call them imprecatory psalms because uh, David is asking God to deliver him from these kind of people who oppose him, and just make life just terrible. And so he's asking God to deliver him from those people. And then later in the latter part of the prayer, he's going to ask God to take care of them. How about that? And sometimes these imprecatory psalms where we're asking God to deal with evil people, enemies, it seems like it's so out of place in our modern way of thinking. And so I want us to look at a moment of why these imprecatory prayers are in the Psalms. And but let's begin by reading a few verses, Psalm 140, where David says, "Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil men. Preserve me from the violent men." In verse number 4, he says, "Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from violent men and those who have purpose to overthrow." In other words, they are scheming and they're planning their evil against David. And then in number 5, the proud have laid a snare. I mean, they're trying to trap him. And even though David in this particular instance is not guilty of anything, you're just going to find those kind of people in life. And so David is asking God to rescue him, to deliver him from those kind of people. And then if you look in verse number 8, he says, "Grant not." I mean, God, don't grant this to these people. Don't grant not, he says, the desires of the wicked. And further, he said, against their wicked devices, which they will furthermore exalt and be proud in their victory over David and ruining his life. And some people get joy out of that. Now, if you notice in the next couple of verses, David will use some very, very strong words. For instance, verse 10, "Let burning coals fall upon them. Let them be cast into the fire." Of course, this is figurative language, but he wants God to take care of them. Now, let's just think about this for a moment, why the imprecatory prayers are in there. And number one, I think that you can see on the surface that you can go to God in prayer and pour out your true feelings. I think sometimes we want to be so pious in prayer that we don't want to lay out our heart before the altar of God and tell God just how we feel. See, these aren't nice prayers. You're just processing these prayers before God. And that's important in a moment. And I want you to see why. The second thing I want you to know for the reason for imprecatory prayers in the Psalms is there is a great necessity for justice. Justice is important. Now, I don't know about you, but there's a lot of things going on in the world that just bother me. And sometimes people don't get bothered about some of the things that are going on, the violence and the corruption and some of the inhumanity that goes on because it's not touching their lives personally. But I'll tell you what, if something begins to invade your life personally, eventually you're going to have a whole different look at the whole business. I mean, your perspective is going to change dramatically. If someone kidnaps your kid, or someone does violence to him, or someone that you love, I guarantee you your attitude's going to change just real quickly. And so what I'm trying to say is that the importance of justice. David doesn't want personal vengeance. He wants God to deal with him and be just at the injustice that goes on. The third thing I want to just note in our brief words today is that when we're dealing with hard feelings towards others, and we're dealing with some people that are just evil. I mean, there are people in life that are just evil. I don't know what else to say about those folks. They're just evil. They scheme and they plan, and all they want to do is be dirty. And so how do you deal with this? And what we're seeing in these imprecatory prayers is that it teaches us how to deal with our negative feelings. Well, what do you mean? Well, you see, if we can go to God with those, then we're not handling those feelings on our own. Watch it now, that's very important. If we don't go to God and pour out these feelings, then we're going to deal with it all by ourselves, on our own. And the tendency there is for them to become very destructive. We'll become bitter and angry, maybe hateful, seeking revenge. So it's important when we start getting negative feelings that we don't try to handle them on our own, but we process them and pour them out to God to deal with them. Now, those are three important lessons today. I hope they're helpful. We'll continue our study in the Psalms, and I'll see you tomorrow.